Hi guys, Will Terry here, and I am calling this video, or this video is called something like Inktober 2019 update, post Inktober or something. It's funny because Jake asked me, he's like, why do you tell people what your video is called in the video? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm a nerd. I don't know. It just became a habit that I do. So anyway, out here in the car, and just thought I'd make this little update video. If you haven't watched the first one, it was basically about my plans for what I was going to do for Inktober, and kind of, yeah. So I'm just going to talk about that and talk about another project and then talk about another plan a little bit. So I'm just going to do that and see where it takes me. So I ended up doing all 31 days of Inktober for the first time, which was awesome. It was really fun. I actually had the time. I needed a real big project that I could kind of sink my teeth into. If you've been following my channel, you know that my wife died about 6 months ago, and that in the last video I really kind of talked about how it was really hard to find motivation to start drawing again. And for months I didn't every time I'd sit down to draw, I just didn't have anything. I even made a few attempts and they failed, and I just couldn't find that artistic side. And then I started dating a girl, and really got into a really serious relationship, which is going great right now, and that's really kind of given me my desire and my passion for art, my passion for getting back to work and getting stuff done. And so, yeah, life is great and really excited. And I also want to just thank everybody for all the love and support in that realm. But Inktober went great. I did work ahead so that I had something to post every day. I didn't want to go a day, or I didn't want to give myself the pressure to wake up in the morning and have to produce something that I really liked. I wanted to have the time to, I'll work on a drawing. And what's funny about the Inktober drawings is I was about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the posting date. And when it was time to post the drawing, I would look at it and I would end up spending a half an hour or an hour tweaking it and fixing it before I would post it. So that kind of gives you an idea of how we are as artists when we have a chance to kind of go back and look at our work. The first pass or the first run often isn't adequate enough. And it was funny how just in those 31 pieces, my quality went up from day one. And I had to go back in and start bringing the others up to the same level. Okay, so that happened. I got that done. And then several things happened. One thing was unexpected, which I'll talk about in a second, but I did say that I would kind of report on what it did to my social media. Now, my Facebook has been maxed out for years because they only let you have 5,000 friends, and so I use my Facebook as both as socializing and for business. But Instagram, I was at 22,000 followers when I started posting Inktober at the beginning of October. I was at 22,000. Now I don't know what, they don't tell you where you are, 22 and change. So I don't know if it was in the low 22,000 or almost ready to flip to 23. But in the 31 days, I ended up at where it is now, which is at 25.8. I actually think I was right at 23 because there would have been point something, but maybe I wasn't watching too carefully. But anyway, so maybe 3,000, 3,500 new followers just from doing Inktober, which was a lot. A lot of those, to be honest, did come from being featured on the Inktober page at the end of, so I think I was at like 2,000 new subscribers or 1,500, somewhere in there on my own. And then Jake featured me on the Inktober page, which helped a ton. And I do feel a little guilty for the nepotism there, because I mean, Jake and I are partners on svslearn.com and friends and all that, and and I told him that. I said, I'm going to have to, when I make the YouTube video, I'm going to have to come clean and say that there was a little bit of nepotism in there. And he's like, well, I wouldn't feature you if it wasn't earned. And so just know that I wouldn't ruin my brand by putting something up there just because, I have a lot of friends that would love to be featured on Inktober, and I didn't feature them. So that was nice. So anyway, that can kind of give you an idea of what it did. Now, I don't know how many of those, let's say 3,000 new followers were in a position to hire for art. I mean, how many were art directors or editors or anything? I have no idea. And even if they weren't, the way I look at it is the more exposure you have, the more opportunity you have to put yourself in a place where you can be discovered by someone who is looking to either hire or license or do something like that. You might, out of those 3,000, I might have hit some people who have those kinds of people on their friends list, who follow them, and without the way the algorithms work and everything, the more exposure, the better. So you just never know. So the neat thing about Inktober doing that project, the things I'm thinking about now is, one, it gave me something to really work on, and to have a cohesive project that really grew my social media. The second thing was, it gave us more property to sell at conventions and on our website. So a lot of those characters, and because there's no licensing issue, it gave us some really good characters to sell at. There are conventions like Monsterpalooza, and FearCon and things like that, different like scary cons and stuff that we might get into with some of those characters. So it kind of opened us up for having more property to sell. A thing that I didn't think would happen, and if you've looked at my Instagram is, I've got links to it in the description, Will Terry Art on Instagram. But one of the things that it definitely did was, I couldn't come up with enough characters in the Halloween genre of iconic Halloween characters to flesh out 31 days. So I had mentioned in the previous video that I had another project kind of in mind to do, and I didn't know where it was going to go, but it was just an idea at that point. And it was to do kind of a mashup between Halloween and Christmas, kind of, sort of like Nightmare Before Christmas, but not those characters, but kind of just like an evil Christmas, kind of a twisted Christmas. I might call it Wicked Christmas, something like that. And you can see the characters that I have, which, when I thought of doing that, I didn't think about what I would actually do with it. I am planning to make a matching game with the Halloween characters that we would sell at our booth. So that's another product. I don't know exactly how I'll do that. I might just buy outright, just work with a company and buy those little the little card games and just kind of set that up. But with the Christmas characters, the more I started thinking of it, the more ideas I had for actually turning it into a game. So I am planning to do a Kickstarter sometime in 2020 for next Christmas, for the next holiday season / Halloween season, because I think they would sell good for Halloween, and trying to get it timed so that they can be shipped out for Christmas presents. So basically a card game. And I've already thought of a lot of really cool, I think they're really cool mechanics for that game and stuff. And so as I, have time, I'm constantly writing in a Google Doc on how to flesh out this game and make it a fun game to play and make it something unique and different. And I think I'll probably most definitely roll that out on Kickstarter sometime next summer, I'm thinking. So that was really cool, because when I set out to do Inktober, I didn't think about doing that. And one of the neatest things that I've learned over the years, throughout my life, is that a body in motion creates all kinds of opportunities, and a body that is just kind of like, not in motion, you know, relaxing, doing whatever else, that's usually, I mean, it's good to have downtime, but in order to be really successful as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as an artist, I really believe in the more you do, the more ideas you'll get. And so, I might be able to look back and, it's funny because you see people that are successful, you see people that have created really successful products, and you think, man, how did they come up with that idea? They just, was it luck? Did they, and I would bet that most of the time it's from doing. So if I create a game, and if I create a successful Kickstarter, and if the Kickstarter earns a lot of money, and if it does really well, someone might look at that and go, wow, how did they just decide to do this game? Well, it wasn't, I didn't sit down and just decide to do a game. I sat down to do Inktober. It will be the backstory on that. So I really do believe that that doing personal projects, doing some of these challenges, if you have a real goal in mind of how you're going to do it, and you kind of come up with an idea of really taking it seriously and making it your job, really, it can bring forth really good fruit. So we'll see how that goes. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, well, there actually is another thing I want to talk about. Before you see the Kickstarter game, there will be another Kickstarter that I'm going to do that's already been in the works, and I'm not announcing exactly what it is. I've been working on this thing for years, and it's been an idea, and then finally I just decided that I couldn't wait any longer, and so I really started the ball in motion. And so I can definitely say it's a book that I'm going to be releasing probably on Kickstarter sometime in February is kind of the goal right now. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be updating you guys here on YouTube and on other social media on what that actually is when we get closer. And when I know, I don't like announcing things and then not doing them. And so, and not that I wouldn't do this, but I don't like a big gap or a big delay from when I'm going to do it. So when I say I'm going to launch in February, I want to be able to launch in February, maybe March, but I don't want it to drag on like 6 months later. So that will be something that you will also hear about. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that I am, at least tentatively right now, and this will be things that I'll update again in the future. Wayne and I are planning on, haven't pulled the trigger yet, but we're planning on doing the licensing show in Las Vegas in May, which is the biggest licensing show in the world, and basically going to take all the characters that I've done for the fan art characters, the characters that, if you watch my channel and you saw my last Kickstarter get shut down because of, a complaint from Marvel. This will be the opportunity for us to get some redemption where we take all those characters to the show. And a common thing for people to do at those shows is show the work that you've done, and we're not selling, so there won't be any copyright issue or anything. But what we'll do is we'll basically set up our booth minus the product, and we'll set it up in a way where we can just showcase all those characters. And then there are a lot of companies around the world that come to that show that are looking for unique artwork to use on their products with those characters that we've used. So in other words, they've already paid for a Disney license, they've already paid for a DC license, they paid for any of the characters that we're looking at. There will be companies there that already own a license and can use my artwork, and we'll see if we can make some deals. It's a very expensive show. I think our booth space is going to cost about $6,000, out the door. And that's a pretty decent little gamble. I mean, it's a gamble that I realize a lot of people wouldn't be able to make. And I can definitely say it would really suck um, if we pay for that and nothing comes of it at all. But the fact that I'm going to update like I always have on my social media, I think will hopefully be interesting to you guys to find out, what actually came from it. Some of the things that can come from those kinds of shows might not happen right away. So it might be kind of something that I have to update, over time. One of the things that was really appealing to me is part of that, the package that you buy is a matchmaking app that you get. So when you buy your booth space, and I think the smallest they sell is a 10 by 10, and it's if you've been to a Comic-Con show, you would know that a Comic-Con show, even the big ones, even the nice ones, are on the scale of how do I put this? The quality of the presentation of the booth spaces is really on the low end at a comic convention. In other words, Comic Cons, there's no carpet on the floor. There's not a lot of, most vendors don't have a lot of lights. It's more of a carnival feel, maybe a step up from a carnival, but it's a huge step below high-end convention shows where, they have restrictions where you have to buy, I think $1,000 of that fee is a turnkey solution to your booth where they bring in lights, they bring in backdrops, they bring in all sorts of things. And I mean, the space, the floor looks amazing. Not something that I would choose to spend my money on, but it's non-negotiable. You can't go without it. So just to kind of give you an idea of that show, and I'll probably take some video there and maybe make a YouTube video of actually going to that show, since it's something I've never done before. And I've always kind of talked about licensing, and I've worked with people that do licensing, illustration, or they licensing is part of their business plan for their illustration. At svslearn.com, we have a class by Gina Jane on how to get into licensing. I didn't set out to get into licensing doing these characters. I just started doing them for fun, and then I realized, well, we could sell them at comic conventions and things like that. And now I think I have enough of them to where it might actually be worth it to gamble. And I mean, in some ways, it's like taking $6,000 and putting it on black, on a roulette wheel, and just saying, can I double my money? Can I triple my money? What could happen from this? Maybe I lose it. But, like anything in business, you kind of have to make a gamble. You have to make bold moves sometimes in order to make good money. I know of some people who have gotten deals before, licensing deals, that are in the tens of thousands of dollars, even over $100,000. So spending $6 could end up being, it could end up being the best decision that we ever made. And it could also hurt a little bit, but I think we're at the point now where we really want to find out. So, that's basically it on the updates. And, just want to remind everybody that I am definitely not making as many videos as I used to for this channel, but it's definitely a plan to constantly update when I feel like I have something good to talk about. And I want to invite all of you guys to look at our 3-Point Perspective podcast, because that's every other week we drop an episode, and we really are putting a lot of effort into that. I think you can find that on Google. You can find it on Spotify. You can watch it from our website, I believe, at svslearn.com. But if you look up 3-Point Perspective podcast, we're getting a lot of downloads per episode now. I think we're over 15,000 downloads per episode. It's going really well, and I'm extremely honored to be part of that podcast. And it does take away some of my desire to make as many videos here, but I think really what I'm going to do on YouTube from now on is just really update when there's something that I think would make an interesting video, about the things that I'm working on. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you sometime in the future talking about something really super important. And thanks again for watching, and thanks for all the comments that you guys leave on my videos. I always read the comments, at least for the first couple of weeks, and I try to respond to a lot of people, and I actually get a lot of ideas for future podcasts, and for even for YouTube videos on there. People will say, I don't think you've ever talked about this, or I don't think you've ever talked about that. So I'm constantly scrolling through the comments to find subjects to talk about on our 3-Point Perspective podcast and on this YouTube video. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.